Hey. Time for the out of this world story from our space. My ex cheated on me with 4 different dudes. I'm writing this because I always see TikToks about cheating stories and people saying they're fake and all that because they're exaggerated. And I thought about how crazy my story is, so here we go. This is a repost with slightly more details because I forgot paragraphs. In high school, I, 14 male, met this pretty girl, 14 female. As a freshman, we would then go on to talk off and on for 3 years until our senior year, when we finally decided to take each other serious and we began dating. We both had pretty religious parents, mine being Christian and hers being Muslim. So we both were virgins and ended up losing it to each other. I guess that kind of gave me more confidence in the idea that she would never cheat because she wasn't really like that in the first place, but in reality, I missed all the red flags. Anyways, fast forward about 4 months into our relationship. Something tells me to check her phone while we're in the car together before my cross-country practice, and I see that she had hidden messages with some guy on Snap. She's watching me as I'm going to her phone, and I can visually see her start to freak out a little bit. So I open the messages, but all I see is his address, saved in the chat. I start accusing her of cheating, but she manages to convince me that she was texting him and you wanted him to come over and sent the address, but she never went over and sought to talk to him after that. And that was that. I don't know how I believed this, but we would later go on a date for another 2 months with minor issues. No signs of her cheating, just her accusing me of cheating over any little thing that happened in school. So about 6 months into the relationship, one day, she had been sleeping over at her first best friend's house for a few days. We'll call her P. So I drove over to come visit them as normal, and as I'm leaving, I see her second best friend's boyfriend walking down the street. We'll call him Ty. He lives on the same street as P, so this wasn't something that would be out of the norm. But something told me to stop to talk to him, so I did of course, and as he gets in the car he says, "Perfect timing, I've been meaning to talk to you." He then goes on to tell me that my girlfriend had cheated on me with 2 guys last night, and her and P both screwed the 2 guys, and they swapped after they were done. He also told me that she might have screwed her ex and screwed another guy, and that she was bragging about this to his girlfriend while he was in the room. At this point, I can't breathe. I feel like a bomb detonated in my chest. I couldn't believe that the girl I wanted to marry would do something like that to me. I literally couldn't breathe. I didn't know what to say. I thanked Ty for telling me about this, and then proceeded to tell him about how his girlfriend was obsessed with some guy at our school for some reason and would always try to get him to get with her, but nothing ever happened. So we decided to act like we didn't know till the next day so we could confront our girlfriends separately, but at the same time, and break up with them. All day, my heart pounded in my chest like someone was hitting a drum. I kept telling Ty how hard it was to text my girlfriend and act like things were okay. It broke my heart. I couldn't believe I was so stupid to not notice her lies. Somehow, I made it to the next day and I had to go to P's house to pick up my girlfriend because that was our routine and I didn't want to give her any suspicion that I knew. Now this is where things start to get crazier and crazier. So P had always been flirting with me since I started dating my girlfriend, and although I liked her before I even got serious with my girlfriend and never cheated or really entertained it, I just kind of let her flirt with me, which is wrong, I know, but regardless, that morning, I couldn't stand to be in the same room as my girlfriend. So I went downstairs while she was changing to wait there. P came down with me to get clothes from her sister's room, which was empty, and she invited me in, and as I'm sitting on the bed, she just starts changing right in front of me, full on everything out. I no longer felt any loyalty to my girlfriend, so I entertained it, but we didn't do anything there, and that was that, for the time being. So fast forward a few hours, we're at school, and it's time to confront our girlfriends separately. So I end up texting mine that I know she cheated on me, and 5 seconds later, she somehow finds me in the hallways immediately and starts spazzing out on me, saying that Ty was tripping on his girlfriend, and that we would talk about our situation later. So I'm rightfully angry that she's putting our situation to the side to attend to Ty and his girl, when our situation is just as bad. So I ignore her and walk off. Fast forward a few hours, we all end up at P's house talking about everything, and she's desperately trying to convince me she didn't cheat, swearing to God and everything, swearing to Allah also because she doesn't believe in God technically and believed in Allah, swearing on her dog's life, swearing on her going to heaven or hell. She even said that the 2 guys thing that happened with P was forced at first, and then she just gave in after because it was too late. I almost believed her, and then Ty's girlfriend ended up confessing to me everything and giving me every single detail, explaining that my girlfriend was lying to me and she couldn't stand to see it continue anymore because she was a Christian woman also and saw it as evil at this point. Update. So after I grilled my ex for hours, she eventually admitted that she had been lying and she just didn't want to lose me. She still stuck to the lie that she had been forced for that particular scenario, but she ended up telling me she effed at the guy that sent her the address, and that she drove over to his house in my car during lunch without me knowing, because I would let her carry my keys around at school. And she screwed her ex hours after because she didn't like the sex with the other guy. I, of course, broke up with her, and she chased me out of the house and cried on the street on her hands and knees, but I just left. To save y'all the time reading, me and P ended up screwing a day later at her house, which we kept a secret from my ex for a little while, until she eventually found out, and the little friend group fell apart after graduation. Throughout the summer, she made multiple attempts to get back with me and fix things, and my naive brain entertained things a little bit. But throughout the summer, unbeknownst to me, she ended up hooking up with two guys. She effed with P again, but this time, just her again. And this time, there was no way she could claim they forced her because she invited them over and initiated everything. Her friends told me immediately, and she once again tried to deny it and swore up and down, just to later admit that she did indeed do it. And her friends also sent me messages of her saying she can't lose me again and that they need to lie for her and keep up the facade. After that, we stopped talking for a while. She ended up going to the same college as me, so we saw each other a bit. She spent most of her time chasing me, trying to please me and get me back, but at this point I finally had learned to not get involved with her emotionally. I would slide over a few times just to F, but that was that. She ended up becoming an alcoholic, and she would frequently call me at night blackout drunk, crying, begging me to get back with her and give things another chance, or call me trying to get me to text her regularly again. But I didn't fold in. She ended up getting pregnant, aborting the baby, getting chlamydia twice. Her friends all hated her for a while because she was a witch to them. She got disowned by her parents and failed basically all her classes the first and second semester. She still calls and texts me trying to get back together, but that will never happen, so she just wastes her time with that. And as for why I never blocked her, I did frequently, but because we went to the same college, it made no difference. She would find me regularly and threaten to kill herself and all types of things just to get unblocked. It's crucial to keep in mind that cheating is never acceptable or justified, regardless of the situation. Although it's understandable that you felt betrayed and hurt, it's crucial to handle the situation maturely and with respect for everyone involved. Retaliation or looking for comfort in someone else's partner are not healthy or effective coping mechanisms. Prioritizing your own health and concentrating on your personal development and healing is crucial. It's good that you eventually ended the unhealthy relationship and made the decision to put emotional distance between yourself and your ex-girlfriend. Set boundaries and place your own happiness and mental health first. Remaining in a relationship with someone who engages in manipulative and destructive behavior is not beneficial for either party. On to our next adventure. My husband cheated and is angry I divorced him. I, 44 female, R, was married to my husband, 40 male, Adam, for 16 years. We had problems in our marriage early on around year 5, and I asked for a divorce because he acted like he didn't want to be married. We both worked full-time, but when I came home, I cooked, cleaned, and took care of our kid. When he came home, he'd sit down and do nothing. I constantly have to ask for help, and even then he'd procrastinate until I finally did it myself. It got so bad that I stopped asking for help. I found out I was pregnant and decided I'd rather be alone with 2 kids than stay with him. I asked for a divorce. He cried and said he'd do better and help me more. To his credit, he did improve about 6 months. Then he went back to his old ways, and over time, he got worse. A few years passed, and he was out of the country on business when I was going over the bills and noticed our cell phone bill was over $2,000. I noticed 2 numbers in particular were called the most. So I called them, and one was a younger woman he was sleeping with, and the other was her father. Apparently, he'd been dating her for months and had met her family. He'd lied and told them we were divorcing, and she, Lenny, could move back to the States and live in our home. Ed, Lenny's dad, told me she was pregnant and a few months from having Adam's son. I called Adam at work and asked him about this. Instead of talking to me, he hung up and ran to his boss's office. They called me back on a speakerphone, and we worked out a plan for him to move out. In the same week, I filed for divorce, and within 6 months, we were divorced. He was embarrassed and extremely angry. He called me all kinds of B words and even told me he hoped I ended up homeless living in a ditch. His affair partner and their son and he moved it to a job out of the country to try and have a relationship with Lenny and their son. That didn't last long, and he eventually abandoned her and their son just like he abandoned our kids. To end on a happy note, I put my kids in therapy. My oldest kid refused therapy and eventually blamed me for the divorce. However, my youngest thrived in therapy. It's been 7 years now, and we are the happiest we have ever been. Every few years, he'll pop up and demand to co-parent, but he had no relationship with our kids before the divorce, so it's too late now. Recently, I had to go no contact as he has a temper and often becomes verbally abusive. Let's see what the community thinks. Slapnuts96 says, So he had another child with someone else, which means your kids have a step-sibling? Do they have contact or anything? The OP replies, yes. No, when the affair was first happened, I reached out to Lenny asking her to talk to me for the sake of our kids, but she told Adam, and he told me to stop calling her. Z Twilight says, what was the point of him wanting to discuss his affair on a speakerphone with his boss present? I'm sorry your older kid blames you, but it sounds like you did the right thing. Hopefully when your son is older, he'll have a better understanding of the situation and respect what you had to do. Standing up for yourself is a good lesson for your kids. DOB replies, my ex is military and he thought I'd tell his boss to get him in trouble, so he ran to them first. Funny thing is, I didn't know his boss, so I never would have been able to tell on him. My oldest is in their early 20s now. They aren't changing their mind. They had behavior issues when they were younger and blamed me for teaching them accountability. My ex would let them slide, so I'm not surprised they sided with him. Goldkey 5185 wants to say, does your eldest still blame you? Your ex sounds like a real piece of crap. He ran to his boss's office to call you with him as support, almost as if the boss knew about it. Did you ever talk to Lenny's father again? Hope you're doing well and enjoying life with your kids now. The OP replies, yes, and we haven't spoken in years. They are in their early 20s and live on their own. Until one day when my ex was being verbally abusive, he told me that he and the oldest were in contact since I kicked them out and made them homeless. I never kicked my kid out. They lied to my ex for sympathy and money. My oldest had behavior issues that my ex would excuse or blame others for the way our kid behaved. No, I never talked to her father again. I washed my hands of the entire situation for my mental health. Yes, my youngest, 16, and I have a stress-free life and a lot of therapy. It's unfortunate that your ex-husband handled the situation in such a combative and aggressive way, turning to his boss for support rather than talking to you directly. He seems to have shown a lack of accountability and an inability to accept responsibility for his actions throughout the divorce process, through his actions and behavior. It is difficult when kids are involved in these disputes and may place the blame on either parent. However, it's crucial to keep in mind that you chose to put their well-being first and sought therapy to support their emotional development. Your oldest child might be able to comprehend the situation more clearly and adopt a more impartial viewpoint with time and maturity. You made the decision to cut off communication with Lainey and her father in order to protect your own mental health and well-being. It's critical to put your happiness first and concentrate on establishing a stress-free lifestyle for you and your youngest child. Thanks for listening today on Our Space. We hope you enjoyed the story. If you did, like and subscribe and let us know in the comments below. Until next time.